Friend, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Thanks for coming out on this cold evening. And it's Valentine's Day, if you heard. I want to give you the history of Valentine's Day, but with a Jewish twist to it. It won't take long. There were several saints called Valentine, okay? And Valentine, who we have associated with St. Valentine's Day, was a Catholic priest who lived in the 3rd century in Rome. And at that time, Rome was a pagan nation, and the ruler was the Emperor Claudius II. And Claudius and most Romans, as I said, were pagans, and more citizens were converting to Christianity, and the emperor didn't like it. And there are several legends that are associated with St. Valentine and how he came to be sainted. You came in time for the story of St. Valentine's. So you must be Saint Valentine. Okay, so one story says that Valentine was called before the Emperor Claudius and refused to give up his Christianity, become a pagan. And another story is that Valentine was secretly marrying Christian couples, a practice that had been outlawed by the emperor. And for whatever reason, St. Valentine was executed on the 14th of February in the year 270. So today is the yahrzeit of St. Valentine. I didn't light a yahrzeit candle for him. It is said that prior to his execution, did you see what? Isn't it amazing what you get at the New Reformed Temple? You'll never get stuff like this any other place. I want you to go back to your homeland and tell people the things that you get at the New Reformed Temple. Okay? So it's said that prior to his execution, St. Valentine had cured the blindness of his jailer's daughter. And his final act was to write her a love message signed, "From your Valentine." For the record, in the 3rd century, Catholic priests got married. Okay? St. Valentine's official feast day was the first held on the 14th of February in the year 596. At that time, this feast was chosen to replace the pagan practice which the Christian church was trying to stamp out. And it wasn't until the Middle Ages that St. Valentine was connected with love, and the poet Chaucer built on the legends surrounding St. Valentine and began the tradition associated with St. Valentine with romantic love that we celebrate today. But here is what people don't know. Jews invented Valentine's Day. Okay. We have another name for it. It's called Tu B'Av. And Tu B'Av is the 15th day of the Hebrew month of Av. And this is what Rabbi Gamliel, the 1st century sage of the Talmud, describes Tu B'Av. This is what it says in the Talmud, in what's called the Mishnah Ta'anit, the Mishnah dealing with fast days. It says, "There were no days as joyous for the Jewish people as Tu B'Av in Yom Kippur, as on them the daughters of Jerusalem would go out in white cloths, borrowed so as not to embarrass one who did not have." And I always say to people, Yom Kippur is the happiest day of the year, especially in the afternoon. The daughters of Jerusalem would go out and dance in the vineyards, it says. What would they say? Quote, "Young man, please lift up your eyes and see what you choose for yourself. Do not set your eyes towards beauty, but set your eyes towards a good family. Grace is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the eternal shall be praised." From Eshet Chayil, from Proverbs. And it says, "Give her the fruit of her hands and let her works praise her in the gates." So according to the Mishnah, according to the foundation of Jewish tradition, Tu B'Av was Sadie Hawkins Day, a fictitious holiday that was created by whom? Al Cap in the comic strip of Lil Abner. Did you know that? No, it's unbelievable the wisdom that's coming out of tonight. And this is before J. Lewis speaks. This is like it's like an hors d'oeuvre. It was, so I'm losing track of my thoughts here. The premise of which was that on that day, women would ask men to dance or out for a date rather than the norm of men asking women. So on Tu B'Av, young women would go to dance in the vineyards, presumably where young men were, and rather than appeal to their appearance, they would ask the young men to focus on their good lineage and pious deeds. Thus, Tu B'Av became known as the good day for people to find their husband and wife. And in modern times, Tu B'Av became the Jewish equivalent of Valentine's Day. Or Valentine's Day became the Christian version of Tu B'Av. So in Israel, it's also called Chag Ha'ahava, the festival of love, and it becomes a day for matchmaking, weddings, and marriage proposals. In addition, it calls for greater study of Torah because the love language between God and Israel is Torah. So let me be a Jewish chauvinist for a moment. When are we Jews going to realize that we did everything before anyone else did it? So let's give Tu B'Av a boost, and you have time. The next time we celebrate it will be the eve of Friday, August 8th. So get ready and start thinking about how you're going to make Tu B'Av a Jewish Valentine that everyone's going to be, a Jewish Valentine that everyone's going to be proud of. It's a beautiful celebration, not a celebration like this evening of an execution of an obscure Catholic saint 1,800 years ago. That's the first and last time I'm going to give a sermon about Valentine's Day. Okay, so let's continue in our service as we turn in our Sidurim to page 2 for L'cha Dodei.
L'cha Dodi, Ligrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabla, L'cha Dodi, Ligrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabla.
Let's turn to page 7 for the lighting of our Shabbat candles. Glenn, would you come forward and lead us in this, please?
Come, let us welcome Shabbat. May its radiance warm our hearts as we kindle these tapers.
Light is a symbol of God's presence in our lives. The Eternal One is our light and our salvation.
Light is the symbol of the holiness within each of us. The human spirit is the light of God.
Light is the symbol of the Torah's teachings, for the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is a light.
Light is the symbol of Israel's mission, as it is written, I have made you a covenant people to serve as a light to the nations.
Therefore, in the spirit of our ancient tradition, that houses unite Israel and all lands and all nations, we kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Le'adlikner shel Shabbat. Le'adlikner shel Shabbat.
We praise our eternal God, creator of the universe, who hallows our lives through laws and ethical teachings. We are mindful of these timeless values as we kindle the lights of Shabbat. May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen.
Yep. Friends, let's turn to page 34, and let me begin at the top of the page. On this day, holy to our people Israel, we have gathered with our brothers and sisters in worship. We have come here in gratitude for the strength that God has given us to do our work during the past week and for the fortitude to meet challenges and temptations. May this hour of devotion awaken within us the awareness of God's presence and bring peace to our spirits. Together, let us set aside our anxieties and fears, our worrying and complaining. May our souls be sustained with faith. Let us walk in the way of the Torah in order that we may be instruments of God's will through days of labor and Sabbaths of rest. Through our daily task and our worship, may we express our devotion to the Eternal One. Let the beauty of holiness shine into our hearts so that we may grow more steadfast in our faith, in our love for God, and our respect for all humanity. And let us say Amen. We turn to page 36 and let us rise for the Baruch Hu. Let me continue on the top of page 37. Ever-living God, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify of your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, your glory will never depart from us. Help us to be your partners, that we may endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Together, all goodness and truth come from you, O God. May no transgressions estrange from you, nor self-centeredness darken our vision of your purposes. Help us to recognize that which is just and more fully understand your will. In adversity and in prosperity, may the light of Torah illuminate our path. May we labor in your service so that our deeds become a living hymn of praise to you. Together on the top of page 38, infinite is your power, even so is your love. It may be seen through the history of our people Israel, through laws and ethical precepts, through statutes and ordinances. You have led us in the ways of righteousness and brought us to the light of truth. Therefore, at our lying down and our rising up, we will meditate on the Torah's teachings, finding within it the inspiration and guidance for our daily lives. May your love never depart from our hearts. We praise you, God. You have revealed your love through our people, Israel. Let us continue with Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael. eternal God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be a symbol before your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy to your God.
On page 42, let us read responsively. In truth, the Eternal One alone is our Redeemer. Let us praise the eternal God who gives rest to the weary and hope to the despondent. Blessed is Shabbat, the Queen of Days, which offers to our people enrichment of the soul. How blessed are those who observe Shabbat, who sanctify it with prayer, with study, and with friendship. May our homes be filled with light and gladness, and may our hearts be steadfast, trusting in the Eternal One. We continue with Michamocha, page 43. On page 44, let us continue. I will begin. As the Sabbath descends, it enfolds us in its mantle of peace. It brings to us the precious gift of time to embrace family and friends, to reflect more deeply on the meaning and purpose of our lives, and to worship in the beauty of holiness. May every Shabbat be for us a sanctuary of love and devotion, bringing contentment to our hearts, happiness to our homes, and blessings to our people. Together, those who celebrate Shabbat and call it a delight, rejoice in your creation. All who hallow the seventh day shall be gladdened by your goodness. And this day is Israel's festival of the Spirit, sanctified and blessed by you, the most precious of days, the symbol of the joy of creation. Friends, before we continue with the Amidah, I know some people here have never been to New Reformed Temple, and I just want to explain for like 2 seconds our prayer book and what it's doing, what it's not doing. You know, when Reformed Judaism was created in the mid-19th century, there were like 2 strains of thought. One was the Reformed Judaism of David Einhorn from Baltimore. He was the great person fighting against slavery, and then there was Isaac Mayer Wise. And David Einhorn was a more radical reformer. He wanted a more severe reform, and Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise wanted a more moderate reform. So the prayer book that we are using is really modeled after the prayer book that David Einhorn wrote, and I think it was first published in 1876 or something. And Isaac Mayer Wise had a prayer book called Minhag America, which was a much more traditional book. And so what happened in Reform Judaism was there were these two strains of thought. One was a more traditional line, and another was a more, radical, but a more Americanized line. And that's what was the Reform movement. And as a Reform movement went to a more traditional liturgy, and I think B'nai Yehuda and Beth Torah have that liturgy, the New Reform Temple kind of held on to the David Einhorn spirit of Reform Judaism. And over time, it evolved. So originally, it was a prayer book that had very little Hebrew. And over time, it became a prayer book that has a significant amount of Hebrew. In fact, Sinai Synagogue, Chicago Sinai Synagogue in Chicago, has produced even another prayer book. And in fact, our new Rabbi Levinsky, he's one of the translators of this prayer book. So I don't think he's going to get rid of it. I think he's going to want to put it on a pedestal. But so it's interesting, so it's not like one's different. They're just different. And I don't think they should be compared to each other. We're trying to do one thing, and other synagogues are trying to do others. That's what makes Jewish life interesting. I thought I explained that beautifully. I'm so proud of myself. So let's continue. Page 45, let us rise for the Amidah.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufia Giteilatecha Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagedor Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vegonei Yaakov, V'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevii Geula libnei bneihem, Leman Shemo b'Yahava, Melech Choseh u'Moshiach u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Be'ezrat Sarah.
You may be seated. Let us continue on page 46, reading responsively. God of ages past and future, God of this day, as you were with our mothers and fathers, be with us as well.
As you strengthen them, strengthen us. As you were their guide, be ours now.
Grant that we too may be bearers of your teaching, teachers of your youth.
Then our tradition shall endure, and our people Israel will live, from mother and father to daughter and son, and all who follow them.
One generation comes, one generation passes. Each of us is a link in the endless chain of our heritage.
Students of the Torah become teachers, our faith and our ideals endure, our people and our values live on.
Let's continue on page 48. God calls our people Israel to be of service. May we fulfill this charge by exemplifying the Torah's ideals with all those we encounter in our daily lives.
May we have the grace to fulfill our mission with enthusiasm and with joy, always tempered by wisdom and guided by respect for other people's faiths and ideals. May our actions attest to the strength of our convictions.
May our conduct towards our neighbors, our faithfulness in every sphere of duty, our compassion for those in need, and our patience under trial show that the one whose law we obey is indeed the God of all goodness, the loving creator of all people. This teaches us that to serve God is perfect freedom, and to worship God the soul's purest delight. Together, may our eyes and minds always be open so that we may see and welcome all truth, whether shining from the wisdom of ancient revelations or reaching us through the prophets of our time. For God continues to shed light on every generation that seeks the guidance of the Eternal One. The people of Israel shall preserve the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath in every generation. As a perpetual covenant, it is a sign between God and the people of Israel forever. We continue with Vishamru. We're going to continue in the middle of page 49 with Hashkivenu. On page 51, let us read together at the top of the page. We gratefully acknowledge that the eternal God is our creator and preserver, the rock of our life and the shield of our help. We thank God and sing praises for the gift of life itself, for our souls that are ever in God's keeping, for the signs of our Creator's presence that we encounter every day, and for God's wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. Truly our blessings are without end, and God's loving kindness never ceases. Therefore do we forever put our trust in the Eternal One. We continue with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Taslim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Taslim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech Adon, v'chol hashalom hashalom. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha, levarech et amcha Yisrael. B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
We continue with some moments of private reflection and meditation. Friends, let's turn back in our Sidurim to page 10. Let me begin at the top of the page. Prayer invites God's presence to lift our spirits. It allows the blessing and gift of hope to prevail in our lives. Prayer might not bring water to parched field, nor bend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city, but prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. Together, we pray for all people who are at this hour, are in sickness and want, or in distress of body or spirit. We name in our hearts those who are near to us, in whose pain we feel pain. Let them know your help and feel your presence, realizing that they are not. As is our custom, if you'd like to share a name of someone that you are praying for this evening, you can share it with our congregation. Let me go around the room. Yes, please.
Kathy Green, Louisa Nicaro, and my dad, Glenn.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Okay. I really want to be mindful of the prisoners that are held in Gaza, and I pray that there will be on tomorrow the exchange that was planned, because they're living lives of hell. And we also pray for those who have left and who continue to need healing and nurturing. So let us continue with the Mishaberach on page 10.
Source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find with refuah shlema, renewal of body, renewal of spirit, and let us say יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable before you, eternal God, my rock and my redeemer. Oh, say shalom b'romam, oh, yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, ve'imru,
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. As you know, I rarely invite people to speak from the pulpit on Friday nights. I love the sound of my own voice too much. So a speaker has to be really good and have something important to say. And Jay Lewis fits the bill. And he's an extraordinary Jewish communal professional, raised in Kansas City, and for the last several years has been the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Kansas City. As many of you are aware, Jay was a really transformational figure in Hillel. Under his executive directorship of the KU Hillel, it literally became one of the best, probably the best Hillel foundations in the country, and that's not an exaggeration, but it's a fact. But he's not invited here for that reason. And you don't even know the reason I'm going to say. What makes him special is his Jewish commitment that he brings to the community. I don't care that he's a great executive. I don't care about any of that. I care that everything that he does is rooted in Jewish values, in Jewish commitment. And in my observation, his vision broadens the mission of the Federation because he seeks to make the Jewish community more Jewish, to nurture his Jewish content and the Jewish peoplehood in Kansas City. That's why he's here. Besides being articulate, he walks the talk. And what he has to say about the Jewish community matters to me. So his presence reflects a long-term conversation that existed even before Jay took over the Federation and I became a rabbi, and that is, what's the relationship between the two parts of our Jewish community, the Kansas part and the Missouri part? He's going to speak on that. It's all yours. You're welcome.
Well, that's one of the nicer introductions I've ever gotten. Thank you very much, Rabbi.
We're a very high-quality student.
That's that was never in doubt. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you, Rabbi Londy. Thank you to the New Reform Temple leadership for inviting me to speak from the Bema tonight. I really don't take this invitation lightly, and I'm excited to partner with you and soon Rabbi Levinsky also to continue to make Kansas City one of the most warm, welcoming, safest, and overall thriving Jewish communities in the entire country. Now, while I'm on the topic of gratitude, since it is Valentine's Day that we pointed out, I want to say a special thank you to my wife, Kim, who responded with a smile and genuine enthusiasm when I came home and said, "Hey, guess what we're doing for Valentine's Day, sweetie?" Thank you. So on this day of the calendar, when we talk about love, I feel fortunate to talk about something that I love deeply, the Kansas City Jewish community. I grew up less than 4 miles from here. Go Lancers. Also, Kim and I met as counselors at Barney Goodman Camp at the Jewish Community Center. We raised our 2 children in the warmth of this Jewish community and launched them into the world with strong Jewish identities. And almost every job that I have had since I was 14 has been in this Jewish community. Basically, everything that I have personally and professionally, who I am as a husband, as a father, and as a professional, is because of this Jewish community. And I'm blessed that I get to wake up every single day to work to make the Kansas City Jewish community even stronger. Now, my specific topic tonight, Jewish life in Kansas City, a bi-state solution. I find it great that when you looked out and said, you're talking about Valentine's Day, and take what I'm sharing with you from New Reform Temple back to your homeland. Like Overland Park is what you're referring to as my homeland. I mean, the reality is we do have a geography challenge here in the Kansas City Jewish community. The Jewish Community Campus, which houses so many of our communal agencies, sits in Overland Park, 20 minutes from here. So on one hand, it does make sense that between the gathering spaces in that building, as well as the gathering spaces in other Jewish communal buildings out south, that a disproportionate number of community programs and community events are held south of College Boulevard. However, our 2021 Jewish Community Study identified 2 key points when it comes to geography. First, over half of our Jewish community doesn't live in Overland Park or Leawood. Second, it found out that geography truly does matter when it comes to engagement with the Jewish community. Many of the survey's respondents answered that geography and the location of institutions and programs were a barrier to them attending programming and feeling connected to the Kansas City Jewish community. Now, in the book of Genesis, we're taught that Abraham's tent was open on all 4 sides, so guests could approach him from any direction. I think this is such a beautiful metaphor for engagement with the Jewish community. We need to make sure that our tent, like Abraham's, is open on all 4 sides. The community study shone a light on the fact that for many in this metropolitan area, geographic challenges are a tent flap down that's a barrier to entry. But evolving demographics and geography is nothing new for the Kansas City Jewish community. In the first part of the 20th century, the Jewish community was located 20 minutes northeast of here on Linwood Boulevard. Then, in the middle part of the 20th century, as the Jewish community moved south, so did all the Jewish communal organizations, and 83rd and Holmes became the center of the Jewish community. Then, in the 1980s, we migrated even further south. Most of the buildings moved south as well to Overland Park. And all of us here tonight are well aware that we are sitting in one of the few Jewish buildings remaining on this side of the state line. But in 2025 and beyond, the answer for our community is not going to be to once again move all of the Jewish buildings somewhere else. Now, the community study did confirm that nearly half of the Jewish population in Kansas City does live in Overland Park and Leawood. And beyond that, there is no other significant Jewish population center in Kansas City. Yes, a number of Jews live in Prairie Village and Brookside in this area, but there are also significant number of Jews, especially younger people, who live in the Crossroads and River Market area. But we also have significant number of Jewish families who are living west in Lenexa and Olathe, and even as far south as Stillwell. So at this point, you could name any part of Kansas City, and the Jewish diaspora has spread there. So no, building new structures in different parts of town is not going to be the answer. But also neither is disengaging from the community or ignoring those who don't live near the town center shtetl out south. So as Hillel reminds us, do not separate yourself from your community. So wherever they live, people do want to connect with our community, and it's on us to connect them. So what's the answer? So to paraphrase the famous saying, the first step is recognizing that we do have a problem. So that's a start, but it's not enough. So since I'm standing on a bema on Shabbat, let's look to our tradition for an answer. Let's start there. So biblically, geography was absolutely paramount for our people. Where we were and where events needed to take place was of utmost importance. So this week's Torah portion, Yitro, talks about the seminal moment of our people when God revealed the Ten Commandments to us. Now, God didn't do this to us when we were in slavery in Egypt, nor did God do it right after we crossed the Red Sea, nor at some random place in the wilderness. We were led to a very specific place, Mount Sinai, where the Ten Commandments were to be revealed. Place mattered. From there, our whole religious system was dependent on place, a very specific place, the Holy Temple. Jews had to live close to that temple so we could bring offerings and sacrifices at the exact prescribed times. So during that significant era of our people, Judaism was entirely dependent on geography. Then, in 586 BCE, everything changed when the temple was destroyed by the Babylonians. Eventually it was rebuilt, but it was destroyed again for good in 70 CE by the Romans. So what did our people do? Did we just give up because of geography and throw in the towel when our whole system that was built entirely on importance of a specific place was shattered and we could no longer go to that place? No, we didn't. The Jews then, like so many times throughout our history, were resilient. We adapted and found a way to make it work with no holy temple. Our rabbis developed a whole new system of laws and customs that could be done in Babylonia, in Turkey, eventually in the United States, be it Kansas City, be it Overland Park. Things like 3 daily sacrifices turned into morning, afternoon, and evening services that could be done everywhere. We developed home rituals like lighting Shabbat candles or Hanukkah candles that could be done anywhere in the world. But it's not that place and geography no longer mattered at all. I mean, to this day, we're facing east towards Jerusalem, and that's how we sit every single congregation in the world, as we are facing towards Jerusalem when we pray. But we're no longer completely dependent on where we are. So not only did Judaism not die with the destruction of the temple, it adapted and it thrived. So that's the second part of the answer. Just as we've done every time a challenge has come our way, we're going to be resilient, we're going to be innovative, we're going to adapt, and yeah, we're going to thrive. We have an opportunity to engage so many more people, to connect people to one another, and make sure even more people feel welcomed in the Kansas City Jewish community. So one big step we need to do is continue to recalibrate the balance between where programming and events take place throughout the metro area. So since the publication of our community study in 2021, the community really is moving this direction, but we need to encourage everyone to intensify their efforts even more and not simply schedule everything in Overland Park by default. This is going to take some creativity, especially for large events, since our largest Jewish spaces are out south. But it's not impossible. We just need to be more creative. We also have to encourage our organizations that do have space outside Overland Park to not just open their doors to the community and community events to welcome people and programs, but aggressively pursue those and push the community to host their events in these spaces. Now, another big part of the solution is we need to continue to develop new and innovative program models that aren't dependent on our community buildings. Going hyper-local is one strategy that has been and is going to continue to be really, really successful. So, for example, Federation's PJ Library Family Engagement Department does programs called PJ in the Neighborhood, where community members host gatherings in their homes, in their backyards, in local parks, local swimming pools for all the families in the same neighborhood. Numerous synagogues are doing away with big holiday things like Sukkot, and rather than have just a big sukkah and everyone come to the synagogue for Sukkot, every night of Sukkot, they're having community members and synagogue members host Sukkot gatherings in their backyards in different corners of Kansas City. Multiple organizations host Jewish learning and discussion groups and coffee shops in a variety of neighborhoods. There's just so many more examples like that I could list. The possibilities for those are endless and inexpensive. It just takes intentionality, and it's going to take effort. The strategy of doing programming beyond the walls of our institutions also can work for larger events. In spring of 2022, hundreds of families in our community came together at Sporting's KC Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City, Kansas, for a huge community-wide Purim event. Over 300 people attended a Jewish Community Center book event with Joe Posnanski at the Negro League Baseball Museum. This past summer, over 1,000 people bought tickets and attended the Royals Jewish Heritage Night, and hundreds came together for a tailgate in the parking lot at Kauffman Stadium before the game. Coming up this April, Federation's hosting a big men's night out event for men of all ages at the college basketball experience for the NCAA championship game. And then, also coming up big, in August 2026, our community is going to host the Jewish Community Center's Maccabi Games that's going to bring over 1,000 teenage athletes to Kansas City from all over North America and beyond. And it's going to take a whole community effort to provide home hospitality, not just in Overland Park and Leawood, but in every corner of Kansas City, as well as hosting the sporting events in every athletic venue, north, south, east, and west throughout Kansas City. So, just as the rabbis of the Talmud helped us understand how we could have Jewish life outside of Jerusalem, in Kansas City, we too can and need to have Jewish life outside of 115th and Knoll. And just like Judaism in the post-temple era, we will grow and we will thrive. So, yeah, we do have demographic challenges, but we also have so much potential. And we have to keep in mind, in the end, very few Jews in our community live more than 30 minutes away from each other. Now, that's a dynamic that every other Jewish community in the country would be envious of. So thanks to the 2021 community study and the efforts of community leadership, I'm really convinced we're moving the right direction. So with that, thank you again for this opportunity tonight. Thank you for being a partner in moving this forward to figure this out. I look forward to working closely with Rabbi Londy over the coming months, and then Rabbi Levinsky and all the New Reform Temple leadership on this. Thank you for the invitation. Happy Valentine's Day, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks so much. So I told you it was good. Now you've set a standard. If they're not as good as you are, they don't make the cut. I don't want to give a Rashi. I just want to say something interesting, Jay, and I'm sure you know it. The people of the New Reformed Temple, as a community made a commitment to this area for a lot of reasons. One was they were against the idea of white flight. They wanted to believe that this was a community where we're in Kansas City, we're not running away. And that kind of social ethos is something that always has moved me and inspired me about this temple. And I think it's a heritage that we are very proud of. And I think our leaders not only were visionaries when it came to creating a synagogue, they had the right Jewish values, and we're proud of it. So again, thank you so much. So we are going to continue in our service as we turn to page 368, and we rise for the adoration.
Let us adore the ever-living God. We offer praise unto you. We spread out the heavens and establish the earth. Your glory is revealed in the heavens above, and your greatness
seated. Let us join together on page 369. May the time not be distant, O God, when you shall be worshipped throughout the earth, when unbelief shall disappear and error be no more. Fervently we pray that the day may come when all people shall be guided by your teachings. Corruption and evil shall give way to purity and goodness. Superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. Then all who dwell on earth shall know that to you alone every knee shall bend and every voice give praise. May all created in your image recognize that we are brothers and sisters, so that one in spirit and one in harmony be forever united before you. Then shall your reign be established on earth, and the word of your ancient prophet be fulfilled. The eternal God will reign forever and ever. On that day the eternal shall be one, and God's name shall be one.
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision and grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's plan. Yet we know that both growth and decay, life and death, all reveal God's purpose. God, who is our support in the struggle of life, is also our hope in death. And we have set the Eternal One before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love we are comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. At this time, recall the yurt sites that are part of the permanent memory of our community: Mildred Auer, E.B. Berkowitz, Bernice Dreyer, Herman Galamba, Donald Glabman, Eugene Haydu, Jean Hersteiner, Hyman Krasny, Elaine Sacken, Jack Sight, Barbara Ullman, and Nettie Wennick. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith that links the generations of the house of Israel one to another, we ask everyone to please rise as we join together as a community in reciting the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'yamad divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyamechon uvchayedecho beit Yisrael, b'galav izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shalom Rabbah v'rach li'olam omei omaya, yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha barechu. Le'elam en kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran b'yoma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us and all Israel and all the world, and let us say Amen. Please be seated. The Shabbat flowers are dedicated in memory of Donald Glabman by the Davidson family, in memory of Eugene Haydu by Joe Haydu and Barbara Marmer, in memory of Jean Hersteiner by the Hersteiner family, in memory of Barbara Ullman by Paul and Liz Ullman and Cairo and Bob Rock, and in memory of Nettie Wennick by Steve and Karen Wennick. And the Onik Shabbat is sponsored by Rabbi Alan and Jane Londy in honor of Jay Lewis. But you don't know the whole story here, because we're glad to have you. But when we sponsor an Onig, it becomes Prosecco Shabbat. I don't know how this evolved. I don't know. It's good, isn't it? So not only your presence not only has been wonderful for us, it has stimulated Prosecco Shabbat. So you could be the Messiah. Or Prosecco Messiah, whatever you want to do. Okay, so a couple announcements before we conclude our service. The KC Community Purim Carnival will be Sunday, March 9th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Jewish Community Center. And it's for kids and for adults. And it's going to include Defy Gravity on inflatable slides, and cotton candy, silent disco. I have no idea what that is. Costumes are encouraged. Okay, just come. And you can register at the jkc.org/Purim. It's good to know who's coming, and it allows for good planning. Just two more announcements. JFS Food Pantry, we're obviously collecting. February is Spread the Love food drive, and so we're called upon to offer spreadables, peanut butter, almond butter, Nutella, cheese spread, jelly, ketchup, mustard, whatever else you can think of that's spreadable. And you can drop it off here. And just one other announcement, on Friday, March 28th, Rabbi Michael Zedek will be speaking. And he has a new book out, Taking Miracles Seriously, A Journey to Everyday Spirituality. He's a wonderful speaker, and I'm delighted to have him here, and he really wants to be here, which is lovely. So we're going to conclude our service with what? With on Ein Keloheinu, page 423. Page 423, and immediately following services, let's join outside for Kiddush Motzi, and we can wish each other Shabbat Shalom.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kedoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu. Micheloheinu, Micharoneinu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu. Yodel Eloheinu, Yodel Adoneinu, Yodel Emalkeinu, Yodel Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adoneinu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Shabbat Shalom.
Stationary Which new version? Enke Eloheinu. Enke. Well, we go back and forth.
Oh, you do? Okay, well, that's good to know.
When I grew up, they sang that every week at B'nai Yehuda, and I went home and took 2 aspirin. I swear to God, all it reminds me of is the grade cards that I got.
Oh, PTSD.
It is. That's what it says.
Well, if I see you in the congregation, then we will not do this version ever again. And Carol, hey, and Carol.